Welcome back, folks. We are going to embark on another adventure of Comiholics, episode 33. So sit down, folks, because...
Are you positive it's 33?
This is going to be a wild ride.
Are you absolutely sure it's 33?
I'm not promising anything. That's just what we're going to call this episode, 33.
33.1.
That's right.
Just in case.
Just in case, yeah. So this could be the pre-launch, the relaunch, or the launch of the next episode of Comiholics.
All right, so basically, in a nutshell, we're not doing the video anymore. At least not until we get, like...
As you can tell...
Actual cameramen and video editors and blah, 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 whatever. It's kind of a hassle. It doesn't look that good, and not as many people like watching the video as listening to the audio. So we're just back to doing the straight podcast format.
I might take a few pictures or something. I don't know. Spruce up the screen for you while you're...
Meh.
We're going old school. We're going audio, see? We've had enough of the old video world. Welcome back, folks.
So, it's been a while since we've done one of these shows.
We missed the whole month of May.
Which is good for May.
Good for
May. Way to take a stand, May. Keep us from recording the show.
For real.
That is good on you. At least May has some integrity.
That's right.
Unlike these other stupid months.
We'll just call it a rain out.
Which, by the way, we've got Turd Ferguson here, who brought a bottle of Moonshine, which I'm going to say, I've only had two different brands of Moonshine, and he bought the good one of the two that I've had.
The one that's really smooth and feels painless until later.
The other one, do something, do it right.
The other one tastes like actual corn, and it will mess you up worse than anything else I've ever had in my life. Whereas this Moonshine just gets you drunk, and it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So happy
you
on that.
From that.
And then we got a guy lying over there on the couch who doesn't want to be part of the group. I guess he doesn't like us that much, so he's sitting on the other side of the room.
Well, I'm just intimidated by the knowledge.
Yeah,
No, we got with us in
comics, but of life in general.
Oh. Well, all you gotta do is look out the window, son.
What's the temperature out? I don't know. Open up a window. Damn hot. No, we've got, this is the Hucksters.
Can you turn off the TV? I keep staring at this.
Or change channels.
There
too much, the commercials are just too intriguing for me to...
Well, it was, Return of the Jedi.
Well, yeah, but I was watching the commercials. Some guy had his favorite pair of underwear, and he took it off on the roller coaster so he wouldn't poop in them.
Well, I did.
That's some good stuff.
That's knowledge of life. You want
We got the Huckster's brother here.
Right.
This is Carl.
So where's Huckster?
Huckster is actually passed out because the Huckster arranged basically a 2-week bachelor party for Carl here.
I guess it broke him, but I'm still here.
That's right. He made it.
No, I had a bad hangover this morning, so just rolled in from St.
When
Louis.
are you getting married?
No. June 15th.
June 15th.
It's like he's having an Indian wedding.
It's
like a month-long process. The wedding's going to take 5 days.
Do you know Killen got married?
Yeah.
Lord Killen? I did his wedding.
Yeah, I know.
Like 2 weeks before his wedding, he's like, "Can you, are you like a priest or something?" I'm like, "No, but there's that online place I did when I was in college." And he's like, "Okay, well, can you do our wedding? Because the priest guy, he's backed out. He's got something else going on." I'm like, "Oh, well, okay, sure. Yeah. Glad to be your first choice."
No, but I am a level 4 cleric.
Perfect 20s. You guys get married. All right.
Natural 20.
So
best marriage ever.
So it's been a weird couple weeks for me because first we did Killen's wedding, and then he left town to go on this Mediterranean cruise.
So you had to run the store.
So I was running the store for a week.
Was that the coast of Concordia?
And then he came back for a couple days, and then I left and went on vacation, and then I came back, and now we're doing this show. This has been a whirlwind. A whirlwind, I tell you.
So this is like the end of the ending.
Yeah, this is like the end. The next chapter of my life begins after this.
After this,
I'm not counting this as the beginning.
Are you going to
like
ball
chapter.
up into a cocoon and come out a butterfly, or what should we expect of dirt?
It's more like in Gremlins.
Oh, so if we feed you after midnight,
yeah, that's right. You got about 2 hours. You got to keep me here.
All right, we can do this. So we got to stretch this show for
which
4
usually
hours.
is not a problem with this show to make it go for
Moonshine
a long time.
present. And,
although because
medicinal medications.
Since we're not doing video, we don't have to do it in 20-minute chunks.
Beer.
So we can just go until we want to stop and take a break, which also helps the length of the show. Because
Right.
when
We
we
need
do
time
those,
for commercials, folks.
when we did those 20-minute chunks, you would stop, and then we'd like watch YouTube videos for 45 minutes.
Right.
And then we get drunk for another 45 minutes, and then we start the next segment of the show. So to do like an hour and 20-minute show is actually like a 4.5-hour process.
Well, and what I love about this show tonight, folks, is we are just going to sit back and kind of play catch-up on what we've been reading.
I'm playing mustard.
But
That's the humor. Those are the jokes, folks.
The audience is they're choking over here. They're
Those are the
choking on
jokes.
those jokes.
Acha-cha.
No, and I like audio because now we get to do the show in our underwear.
We can be laid back. Who's wearing underwear? I'm just
Oh.
straight up naked.
Oh, I didn't look down.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
I got a no shirt, no pants.
Do you guys want to discuss why
What?
you're
Oh,
wearing a
yeah,
sword?
so by the way, Sir Apocalypse
That's
over
right.
here.
Sir
Lord.
Apocalypse.
No, he's not
Lord.
Lord. No,
Sir.
Killen is Lord. He's Lord Killen.
I'm Sir
Lord
Apocalypse. I'm
Killen.
He
knighted.
is Sir
Well, he's about to
Apocalypse.
get his ass, his
We better be
tail.
careful. I
That's
am.
right.
No,
I have a long
no.
sword.
His
No.
patoot.
Lord Killen pays for the hotel in Chicago, so he gets to stay Lord Killen.
He gets to get that title.
Gotcha. Easy with the, hey, get your fingers off the sword, son. That's dangerous.
It's a plastic sword, not what you guys might be thinking.
So I'll be
But it
referred
looks
to
real.
as Sir,
Somebody could
Sir
still lose
Apocalypse
an eye.
all night.
Sir Apocalypse.
Sir Topocalypse.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yep.
Nice and easy.
Uh-huh.
Sir Apocalypse.
So we're going to do a show,
You couldn't get more
and
syllables.
we're going to start off. I'm going to talk about Rachel Rising.
Wait, okay. Before you start on Rachel Rising,
Okay?
a funny thing the other day. I started buying Rachel Rising when it first came out.
Uh-huh.
It was one of those books we ordered for the store and nobody bought. So for like the first 6 issues, I bought one. Just I was reading
So
it. I'm
keep
like,
it
oh, it's
going.
pretty good. Whatever. And then you started buying it.
Oh, excuse me.
I actually stopped buying it when you started buying it.
Uh-huh.
And I was reading.
You
something.
really liked my reviews, apparently. Here, listen to my
So
reviews.
I was like, oh, I don't gotta read it. No, he's reading it. But I was reading something online the other day. First printing copy of the first issue of Rachel Rising, $250.
I have that.
What?
Yeah.
Are you hopped up
A
on the
first,
goofballs?
and they're only on what, 13 now?
Yeah.
Is that the latest one that
I
came
have
out?
that.
So the first printing of one was the green cover,
Right.
and that's what I have.
Yeah,
I've got
I
one
have
of those.
too.
Okay. Well, it's worth
He's not putting his nasty
$250.
fingers all over it, is he?
Yeah, be gentle with that. I'm just kidding. It's all good. I don't,
So I'm gonna find my like 1, 2, and 3 and put them on eBay. Like buy it now, $150, and just like.
let me know how that goes.
Ooh,
Yeah.
keep your eyes peeled.
I really like it, though. Actually,
I like it a lot, but
I
not
like
enough
it
to
enough.
hold on to it. If it's
I would. Well, you think like the price would die?
oh, the price will go down eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's definitely one of those that
Huh.
like, let's sell it for profit.
Interesting. That'd be a nice day at the zoo with the kids.
And that would just about cover it.
Depending which zoo.
Tickets to the zoo and food,
Yeah.
and then you're out of money. All right, well, since this is technically a show about comics, we should
Technically.
probably talk about
Loosely
something,
based around.
something at some point having to do with those funny page books.
Okay.
So you start.
Well, we're going to talk about issue 16, Rachel Rising. There's going to be spoilers here because this has been out a while.
Yeah,
so
you can spoil that.
no biggie. I'm just going to assume everybody kind of knows the story. So basically, at the table is Johnny, the lesbian aunt, and her lover at the well, this one is at the kitchen table with Jet and the main character. What the heck is going on out there? Sasquatch is beating
go
around the
kick
door
your dog.
back there.
Your puppy mill dog is going crazy.
Oh my goodness. Here we go with the jokes. Oh, what is the main character's name? The blonde.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
Tamika,
Maybe it's Barbara. Barbara
Trisha,
maybe? Okay.
Mandy.
Anyway,
Sandy.
so they're sitting around talking about
Candy.
kind of recapping what's happened. Jet's kind of basically gotten a temporary amnesia and needs to be kind of caught up on what's going on.
Well, okay, do it just a quick. This witch was killed like 200 years ago.
Basically, these girls are getting murdered.
and
These two main characters.
Well, but it's like the
basically.
ghost of the witch has come back, and
They
it's,
kind of haunt their bodies. Like they're murdered. They're buried in this shallow grave in this pit. They come out, and all of a sudden, they're dead. They're barely alive. Like they have somewhat of a pulse, but it doesn't really exist. It's like faint, So they're kind of like undead, and their bodies are also possessed by former witches that were. This whole town was basically they burnt all these women, back in like New Salem era type thing.
Old Salem.
So these witches are basically coming back as ghosts and getting revenge.
Okay.
And basically raining a demonic plague on this town.
The funny thing is, 200 years ago, you killed witches, and it was like the cool thing to do. I do it last week, and somehow it's a federal crime.
Right.
Like, what the hell's up with that?
I know. Well,
They're taking our rights away, America. You used to be
Brickline
able to
pit
burn
in
a
my crawl
witch.
space, and I'm the monster.
get a hold of your alderman. See what happens. But the real twisted part in this was towards the end. There's one little girl in here called Zoe. And
she's the murderer from like the issue 3 or
yes,
whatever.
she is possessed by something very strong and very evil. I'm assuming like she may be like a proto-demon of some sort. Come to make sure that everything that these witches are trying to do in this town actually does happen. But she's like taking sanctuary in this church. And she meets this, before this, I think the previous issue, she had met this priest in the church, and the priest kind of took her in. Anyway, she goes into this kitchen of this church, walks out to the back of the church, and for whatever reason, there's like a goat tied to a tree. Yeah, really bizarre.
Well, that's what I do with my goats.
And she has this like ceremonial sword, and she slits the goat's throat. And the priest is looking out the window. I don't know, it's probably for some ritualistic practice.
Those crazy goat eyes, wasn't it?
And the priest is looking out the window, watching her do this whole thing. And she's just taking it in, wiping the sword carefully off the goat's body.
Right. And then she has sex with it.
No.
Oh.
No.
No, this is Terry Moore. He draws very beautiful women, but it's very classy.
Right.
Well, then what good is he?
So then this other, priest walks up and looks out the window, and he's just like, "Oh my lord!" And then the other priest snaps his neck.
Oh.
And throws him down the stairs to make it look like he just fell down the stairs and broke his neck. So this kind of reminds me of kind of like this Rosemary's Baby kind of thing, or The Omen, where
Saturday
there's
night
all
at my
these
house, whatever.
Terry Moore's starting to lead into this story where I think it's kind of going the direction where the evil forces are really trying hard to make sure that this happens. And what's more far beyond that is there's a demon that is has a bigger motive than just affecting this town.
More than just witches getting revenge.
Yeah, he wants to bring hell.
So is he
Earth.
using the witches as his way in?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's where all this is leading.
So is this the Dream Master?
I don't know what the
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what it is. Part 5.
Nightmares of the Unborn Baby, bring Freddy Krueger back.
And that was just kind of in a nutshell. I didn't go into too much detail, so that way if you do want to pick up 16, it's not too many surprises, but that's pretty much the gist of 16, and I think it's going in the right direction. I think Terry Moore is a really good book here.
Here's a question for you about... Whoa.
Easy there,
Rachel
Tiger.
Rising altogether. Do you feel as if he's writing more for the issues or writing more for the trades?
No, I think he knows how to, I was just playing with the ball back there. Sorry, my dog's in the background.
Eating the thing.
He knows how to, keep you hanging each issue. So it's not like, every issue is not just, there's no filler. I really feel
Every
that,
issue ends on a cliffhanger?
Yes.
Type thing? Or at least something surprising happens?
Not a single issue I felt it was just I didn't really get anything out of this. Or, it was just kind of leading up to something. Those issues were it feels like it's leading up to something. It wasn't that way with any of his issues. So, really like what Terry Moore is doing. His art is spectacular. He's the writer and the artist, so it's all his works.
His own potion company, too.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Okay, how about Mighty Skull Kickers, #1?
Which is actually number 18, or...
Yeah, well, what was this for, this Uncanny Skull Kickers?
Yeah, they're doing a whole bunch of number 1s, just continuing the series.
Just to mess you up. But to keep everybody up to speed, so basically...
And there's a new one coming out
as
this
we
week.
know, we're assuming the dwarf is dead or coming back. There were some hints of him coming back in the previous Uncanny Skull Kickers, I believe. But it starts off here where, what's his name? Gun guy.
I don't know. He's the brick. I
Yeah,
don't
the
know.
brick guy is walking through the pool, like this.
See, I haven't
cave,
read
the
that
pool
one.
wall. You haven't read this one?
No. Yeah, I know. I didn't tell me about it. What's the last one you read?
Turok number 12.
1963.
Well, in this one, he ends up having to like battle a clone of himself. Like when you walk through these waters, you have to face yourself.
Oh, so it's like a reflection coming out of
Yeah.
the water. I gotcha.
Oh.
So, and he's got the super gun like him.
The jump to conclusion pool.
Yeah, and he ends up killing his jump to conclusion pool, and he ends up killing his other counterpart, and now he's got two guns.
I was gonna say, did he take the gun?
Yes. So now he's got two guns.
So he's got a brace. Of
There's still, remember, like the ape men people with the horns on their head from the previous one.
Oh, they got it.
They're on the island.
Right.
Okay, so
They're-
that's still
they're
going
above
on.
ground.
He's trying to convince the apes to help them go fight the Cthulhu creature that's like,
Coming out of the mountain.
yes.
Yeah.
And in this one, you realize that the
Wow.
dwarf, after making a deal basically with the devil in the previous issue, has come back.
But
And
now
washes
he's evil?
the shore. Well, he's got the evil spark in him.
Does he have the Rachel Rising
It's
demon?
been placed in him.
Yes, he has the Rachel Ray
Is it the
demon.
same demon from
Yes. Rachel
from
Rising.
Zoe, the little
Yes.
girl?
The Rachel Ray
Same.
demon.
It all.
The
this
Rachel Ray
In fact,
demon?
this
Is that what you're
yeah.
saying?
In fact, this is the crossover. Yep.
I'm gonna hang out with Oprah.
But they haven't run into each other yet. There's, the dwarf is actually after ale. He thinks the ale is where the
You know, they don't
Cthulhu
like being called
creature is.
people McNuggets.
You know, one thing I have to say about Skull Kickers, it has great artwork.
Yeah.
It is, and it
Like,
never.
I like this.
It's pretty.
It never,
colors are
like-
very vibrant.
A lot of times, guys on these independent books,
Here,
they have
check
a
this
tendency
out.
to rush through things as they get into later issues, and it never feels rushed. It always feels like a good quality.
like they took time with it.
Yeah, yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. So you want to share? I'll take the back seat for a couple ones while I gather my thoughts
I'm going to talk about a couple digital books.
that we may have read together.
Well, no, these are
Together, like we sat together and read them. You read the first paragraph. I'll read the next paragraph.
I'll do the male voices. You do the girl voices.
Okay, this time.
All right. So first up, Adventures of Superman. This is a new DC digital initiative book. They do one chapter every week online, and then at the end of the month, they print them as a actual physical copy for people that still want the physical comics. But it comes digital first. And for Adventures of Superman, what they're doing is basically going out and getting different writers and artists to do basically short stories of Superman. So when you combine them together into pages, they make like maybe 9 pages or 8 pages of printed material. But, digital, they break it up.
Right.
Whatever. And each one is its own standalone story.
Huh.
So they don't ever combine together, and that's not really the point. It's different writers
But different writers and different artists?
different writers and different artists.
Okay.
And so it's like they're doing their take on Superman. It's like their iconic.
So
look
there
at
could
the
be some
character.
wild shifts in styles.
Oh, there definitely are. There definitely, like, for instance, the first one is kind of like your basic all-purpose.
Pow, biff, bang,
It's
boom.
like Lex Luthor is trying to figure out how to use kryptonite to make superpowers so that people could take on Superman, and he starts giving it to junkies on the street.
Oh.
To see how they react, and Superman, has to fight him, whatever. But then you get, I think it was the second issue, yeah. Second one is from Jeff Lemire, the guy who did Sweet Tooth, the post-apocalyptic book that just wrapped up. And it's 2 kids playing Superman and whoever the villain is, and they keep shifting. Do they want to be Brainiac? Do they want to be Bizarro? Do they, who they want to be?
Oh, okay.
So it's like 2 kids discussing, but as they're discussing, they turn into Superman and Brainiac, or they turn into Doomsday.
What do you mean, like they're like playing, saying, "I'm going to be Superman." The other guy's like, "I'm going to be Brainiac,"
Right, exactly.
and then he becomes.
And then they
Superman.
become it as they're playing it out.
Okay.
The two, so it's like you're looking at the story of Superman from what little kids do when they play.
Speaking of Brainiac, didn't he just come back in Action Comics, or one of those Superman titles? I think he's back. Like they brought Brainiac back. Like he was somehow in Superman's mind, and I think it was Action Comics, and they were able to extract Brainiac from him, and then all of a sudden they've got this big head again, and they're hooking up to a machine, and they've like kept him going.
Like, that sounds familiar, but I have no idea what that's from.
I think it's from Action, and it's just recently with what's the Mixapixel?
Yeah, Mixapixelic or whatever his name is.
It's kind of like going through that.
Well, that was in
end
Action.
Of that. So
anyway, regardless, but each of these books you can buy digitally for 99 cents for the chapter, and it's weekly. It's a quick read, but they're all good, solid stories. Like, there hasn't been a bad one in the bunch, and they tackle Superman. Like, one guy will do crazy 70s style story with different technology, the weird technology in Fortress of Solitude, and whatever type stuff. And then the next one will be Superman and Lois fighting over, like Clark and Lois fighting over who gets the best story. So it's like all these different things from different parts of the character and the world he lives in. So anyway, that's all good stuff. Another one I've been reading is called The Eighth Seal. This comes out first on Comixology, and then a couple weeks later it comes out for free at Thrillbent.com, which is Mark Waid's digital comic store. And it's basically the First Lady of the United States is having these hallucinations.
Sweet.
And you start to get the idea that she's not just hallucinating, she's possessed by a demon.
Ooh, nice.
And so
Is it Mary Todd?
No, it's not Mary Todd. It's, President X in whatever America. It's, random person. But they were talking about this at C2E2. The writer of this was at one of the digital comics panels. And he said, the problem when you do horror comics as printed comics is that you can only do a scare every other page. And it's on the page turn.
Right.
You can have something jump out at somebody.
Right.
Or you can have some sort of, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next?
Because the giveaway is like right there on the other page when you're reading the first page.
Right. But when you do digital,
it's all right in your face.
It's like every time you tap, you don't know what the next panel is going to be.
Ooh, that does look creepy.
So and they do little things
where the hand moves.
Little bits of motion.
Nice.
So it's part of their what do they call it? It's Comixology, right?
Well, this is first on Comixology, then goes to Thrillbent for free. Thrillbent does a bunch of free digital comics, and
how do we get to Thrillbent?
You go to Thrillbent.com. Actually, we repost them at ineedcomics.com, part of the Pop Culture Network.
There you go,
You can find them embedded there. But it's really there's no real length, like, because it's digital. If they want to have it be like 95 taps to get through this chapter, then it's 95 taps. If they want it to be 60 taps to get through it, it's 60. It's whatever the story that they want to tell is, being told. So you can never be sure as you're reading it how close you are to the end. Like, where's the cliffhanger going to be?
Right.
And where's the jump going to be?
So you can't pull up pages.
Like, once you get to the end, then you can kind of go back through and say, oh, I want to go to page 20, whatever.
Okay.
But as you're reading it, you never know, like, what's going to happen next.
It looks creepy. I'm going to have to get that.
Yeah, and the artwork is really good. It's
very nice.
For a book that you can get for free, it's great.
Speaking of some of the newer technologies, because when I started reading comic books, Comixology was fledgling. It was just getting started.
Right.
Digital comics were fairly new.
I think graphically was bigger at the time.
Right. And so I kind of jumped on the wagon right when everything got rolling in the digital comic universe. And I reflect on it now, and I'll always buy paper. I love paper. I've said that, time and time again. I spend a lot of money at my local comic book store, but there's just something to be said for different styles of comic books and how they are portrayed better in the digital platform. And I especially see that a lot more on, like, especially C2E2. It was basically the main topic of discussion in just about every panel was, how does this transpire?
There was a lot of talk about digital C2E2.
Yeah. And I think it's because they're trying to get people to buy in and accept that both worlds can exist, So,
well, there's a couple things that come up. First of all, if you're buying paper, you're buying a collectible. You're buying something that you want to keep. It's like buying the DVD or the Blu-ray of a movie. Whereas when you're reading a digital, you're buying a digital, it's like going to the movie theater in a sense. It's like you're buying that you don't really own it, you don't really keep it forever, but you do get to experience. And most digital stuff is in the cloud, so you are going to buy it once, you have it everywhere. You know, if the company goes out of business, but you know, whatever. But they kind of look at it when you do a paper comic, you kind of have these confines of you have to do that rectangular page.
Right.
Because that's what everybody expects.
Yeah.
And if you do something that's different, you know, Archaea will sometimes do like these half-page, like kid-centric books, or slave labor sometimes will do like long format and whatever. And then it becomes kind of like a hassle. How am I going to store this? You know, where do I put it? It doesn't really fit on the shelf. It doesn't really fit in a box. You know, what do you do? Whereas with digital, they just say, do whatever. Make it fit on the screen, or if you want them to scroll through the screen, or however you want to do it. You know, it's just make it up as you go, because there's no worrying about that other format. And a lot of guys, when they start thinking about, I'm going to do something digitally and tell my story, then just like with the horror comics, you don't have to worry about turning the page and then giving away something on the facing page. You know, it can be something every time.
It's gone beyond that too. Like Marvel's trying new things. For example, there's AR. And you know what? I've tried AR on a couple, like one page, it would not pop up.
Right.
Another one, it popped up, and it was a story that had nothing to do with the comic book, about a woman talking about how she was an expert in vampires. And then the next one actually was prevalent. I was reading Deadpool, which we'll talk about later, and it was like at the end where like Deadpool's like at a diner, and he's being hassled by the waiter because he's creeping everybody out. Like and like he just like he had his foodie review of the restaurant, and it was kind of funny. You know?
My problem with I think
and then
with Marvel AR is that it's a completely wasted technology. I think Marvel has completely missed what they could do with the AR because it interrupts the flow of what you're reading. So it's not something that you're going to do while you're reading the story. It's something you go back to.
Well, like another one was even lamer. It was the one with Thor, and I think it was during Avengers or something. And Thor is like telling a story to like those like fledgling,
the little kids,
little kids, and basically this guy comes on. And I think he was like assistant editor or something, and he's like, "Oh, and we'll continue on to the part that we couldn't tell the general public because." It's
the sex.
It's not for kids.
Reading the wine and much. We'll talk about that when you're older.
But then when he actually talks about what it really is, he's like, oh, and then what you need to do as Thor to cross the Rainbow Bridge to Valhalla. It's just like what?
Yeah.
This is a waste of time.
Like the.
I think it should be more like, things pop up from the page. More interactive.
Well, no. See, I would disagree on
that. Or
like
show the battle. Show it in like a cartoon. Or something.
See, I don't even like that either. The way I see it is, it needs to be one of two things. One is either like director's commentary, like the writer or the artist would come in.
Well, there was one that when I was reading where it was.
Yeah, there was one I saw, and it was like, here's the pencils, here's the inks, here's the colors. And it's like, well, but who really cares? You need to have, if there's a story point. Then you have the Marvel AR, and after you've read the story, you go back to that story point, and you'd pull it up, and the writer should be sitting there telling you, this is why I did this in the story, this controversial moment, this is why I did it. Or, if something happens and a character appears that you haven't seen for a long time, then you should Marvel AR it, and it should pop up and be like, Hyperion was first seen in such and such issue, and his last,
which we'll get into when we talk about Avengers. But.
And it's one of those things where you could be doing some of those character backgrounds for characters that don't show up a lot, so you don't have to go to Wikipedia and be like, "Who the hell is this guy? Why is he showing up?" Or it should be the writer and the artist saying, "This is why we chose to do this in the book." And
I like the Wikipedia excuse because I have to do that all the time. Like, who the hell is this person?
One of those two is really what they need to do.
Right.
And the only time I've seen that used in that format was at the beginning of Superior Spider-Man. On the first page, if you AR'd it, or maybe it was the cover even, I don't know. But Dan Slott appeared, And he said, okay, in this issue, this is what we set out to achieve.
And that's what I want.
Here's the artist on the book, and he's done this.
Give me some
and
insight.
Yeah, so it's like those are the two things. But instead, it's like you pull it up, and it's like, hi, this is Mike. I'm the intern here at Marvel, and I bring the donuts. And then that's the end. It's like, who cares? Okay, but here's the other thing that Marvel is doing now.
Gamma.
Is they're adding music.
Gamma.
So you can pull up your app.
And it's all, but and the speed of what you swipe speeds up the music. It's you could be sitting on a frame and it's nice. And then you dun 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 dun.
I don't like that. I don't like that
it's
at all.
so funny because when you go to these cons, fanboys just want to be all, yay, everything's so great, it's Marvel. And they'll call these guys up from the audience to go up and they'll you got your headphones, bring your headphones up, and they all had kind of, it was awesome, I loved it, I loved the flow, but there was also one person that actually I thought had a smart comment about it where she's like, when I read comic books, I don't want to hear music. I want to concentrate
it's
on
in
the
my
comic
head.
book.
Yeah, well, it's I want the
silence.
sound, my sound,
right?
Because it's funny because
I'll
it's
make the own movie in my head.
It's like when you read a book.
Well, I guess I'm getting at is how much do we really want to cram into this digital media?
Well,
and I understand it's nice to have a new avenue, a new expression of the art or whatever, and that's cool. But what's nice about it is though, it's not like you're forced to listen to.
Yeah,
Gamma,
you don't have to use it.
Which I haven't tried it out yet, so I guess I'm being too judgmental.
I didn't care.
But to me, I just thought it was too. Meh.
Because it's like when you read a book or you read a comic, the voices in the head are what you make. It's like whenever they make a movie and they pick somebody, and then people are always like, oh, why'd they pick that guy to do it? Because once you switch it to another medium, you're changing something about the storytelling.
Right.
And one of the things I enjoy is when I read a book or I read a comic, the voices, the sounds, whatever, is whatever's in my mind.
In your head.
And it's funny because I will read a comic and then turn around and think about the story I read, and I'll hear the voices speaking the dialogue in my mind. I don't think about reading the word balloon. I think about the conversation that the two characters had. And so,
do you find I found them because I read a lot of comic books today, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to feed off of this. I've read a dozen comic books today. Do you ever find yourself going one direction or the other, where you're paying more attention to the art than you are the dialogue, or you'll be reading the dialogue, you're so into the dialogue, you're kind of your eyes are skimming the art, but not really looking at the art. I don't know.
But that goes back to that's your experience when you read. And the more that they take that away from you, the more it loses something.
Right.
So, that's one thing I don't like about the way Marvel does their Infinity digital comics.
Right.
Because there's too much of someone's
in your
walking,
face.
and then you swipe, and they're walking a little bit farther, and then you swipe, and they're walking a little bit farther, and it's it's
like kick a can.
It's I don't need to swipe 6 times just to see this guy walking down the street. It's like, come on.
They've in that sense they've kind of controlled the experience.
Yeah,
I guess what I'm getting at.
Right. Because there's something about when you make a leap from panel to panel, and this goes to the storytelling. Another thing that I kind of miss with some of the digital comics versus the print comics is that when you've got a page and it's well drawn, an artist that actually sits down and understands how to lay out a page, then they do the artwork where it makes your eye flow from panel to panel.
Right.
And they do a really good job of setting up the scene so you're looking at it and your eye is naturally flowing across the page because they know how to lay out characters. They'll have the guy's arm move in just the right way. That's the way you're supposed to be looking.
I know, yeah.
That kind of thing. And with a lot of digital, they don't do that type of thought into the scene because it's just a still picture.
They're just forcing the next frame
and you flip to the next still picture.
Right.
So they might as well be taking just frames from a movie, and putting dialogue balloons on top of it because it doesn't matter what that scene is you're looking at.
So there's actually some of the art is kind of lost.
Yeah.
So
there's a give and a take. Both have their pros and cons. I have no problem with pulling up a digital comic and just having a full comic book page in the rectangle on my screen.
Right.
I don't mind that at all. And one of the big things that Mark Waid always tries to argue is that computer screens are horizontal.
Right.
And the comic book page is vertical.
Which Mark Waid was everywhere. At
Yeah, he did every single panel of that show.
It's like,
I'm
we're
pretty
going to do a panel
sure
about Garbage Pail Kid cards.
We're doing
and by the way, Mark Waid's going to be here.
This is Women in Comics in Soviet Russia, being hosted by Mark Waid. And it's like, I'm not Russian and I'm not a woman. I've never read any of these. But
hey,
here I am,
Mark
folks.
Waid. I'm Mark Waid.
Thrillbit.com.
I love digital comics. And it was funny because actually he was in a panel where there was a couple younger dudes and they were going back and forth, and I think I posed a question. I don't even remember what my question was now. I think it was sort of smart because nobody snickered and I wasn't booed. But it was like a younger guy who would still going to the classic print. Pen and ink and paper and coloring, and then Mark Waid, who's very old school. He's been doing this a long time. Swears by digital comics. Mm-hmm. And then there was also an artist next to him, and they were just, they're like, this makes my work so much quicker. I'm able to concentrate on other things that I couldn't.
Yeah,
before.
That was
I think
the
that
guy
was
who does Insufferable. Peter Krause.
Peter Krause. That's right.
He said he never did digital until he started doing this stuff, and now he'll never go back to the old school.
And he even kind of made a comment like to the younger guys, like, "Well, you'll learn." Like he spent all those hours and hours, doing something that only takes 20 minutes in the digital world.
He said although sometimes you get caught in a trap.
Right.
Because you'll think, well, this is digital, so I only have to draw like the outline of the person's face, and then I can just draw a bunch of eyes and a bunch of mouths and just kind of drop them in.
Swap it until it makes
sense. And then
sense.
you spend so much time making all these little variations
that
you can
takes
swap it that you
too.
spend as much time doing that. Yeah.
So maybe in this new platform, what is taken away from the old way, something else will be added to it. So. But, boy, we really took that off on a tangent.
Yeah, but that's what this show's about.
That's right.
That's what we're here for.
We need some more moonshine, I think.
Is that in the freezer?
It's in the freezer. It's in the freezer.
Moonshine in the freezer.
Belongs.
All right, we'll wait. We'll wait. We don't want this to be too quick of a podcast. Let's talk about Avengers, because I know...
I crammed a whole bunch of Avengers today.
Okay.
I
read 11... No, wait a minute. 10, 11, 12.
I don't even know...
Which, all right... Here's my one complaint off the bat, going into, almost a dozen issues now, is Hickman sometimes has a tendency to cram a lot of different stories in one, to the point where you almost start to get a little lost, because it goes back and forth.
Yeah, I was going to say, today I sat down
These
and I read...
These are basically 3 different stories.
I read 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 all today.
Okay, so let's talk about 10, 11, and 12, because they are basically 3 completely different stories.
So 10...
One I kind of liked, and the other 2
10 is when they are trying to find out...
Captain America...
okay.
Eye Patch Captain America.
10 is when they're in the Savage Land.
I'm sorry, I got confused.
They put together the group to go down to the Savage Land.
Savage Land, and then all these superheroes die.
And they're catching up on the all those little worlds that the evolutionary guys have made.
They said Wendigo, Validator, Kingdom, and Box.
From Alpha Flight.
That's right.
They all died, apparently.
Yes.
Except for you find out Vindicator.
Vindicator's still... Validator.
Or Validator.
Validator is still alive.
But, like, possessed or
yes.
something...
and then Cap and Wolverine use that one guy... what's his name? The teleporter guy.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. They use him to go into this dome of death.
Like this forbidden world of these evolutionary...
Now, I like the art. I'll tell you right off the bat, I do like the art in this. Mike Diodato does a very good job. But my one complaint is it's just... it's almost like he's putting too much into it. Well, okay, and at the end of this... what's his name? Blows his brains out over this, like... well,
because that's his daughter, and whatever. She whispers
something in his ear that's...
And he figures this is greater... It's better that mankind not know this, because there's something greater that he doesn't want them to stop.
And because he has some kind of chip in his head, like, where they can...
Where they record his thoughts or whatever, so he blows his brains out.
Okay, so that's just one story.
Like okay, wait. Well, here, let me say something. One thing about this story is that Hickman set up a whole bunch of different things in one book, and then he's treating each thing as a separate segment, almost as if like this could have been a crossover. Where a
one shot
issue 4 would be like your crossover book. That would be like your Evolutionary Rising in issue 1. And then an issue of Avengers, issue of Secret Avengers, issue of New Avengers would be your 3 different issues for Avengers 10, 11, and 12. It's like they're part of the same story, but they're not connected, technically. You know, it's like they all go together because they're all dealing with the same stuff in the world, but it's like different characters, different storylines going on.
And, I know that's Hickman's style. We saw it with Fantastic Four, where there were all these, different sub-stories, and somehow they were connected. I did like the part at the end where, like, basically, the Validator made something happen where each of these superheroes turned into different superheroes.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be. At first,
like
I thought it was
a genetic evolution.
At first, I thought it was parallel universes, but it's actually them in different like time periods or different evolutionary
alternate
states,
dimensions.
Because like they show Hulk, and there's like Hulk, and then like the 3 versions of him, and the last version is the future and perfect version of him from like an Elseworld story from several years ago.
Oh, so these are actually pictures of...
Well, that was him at different stages of time. Whereas with Captain America, it was like an alternate universe Captain America, and then like ultimate Captain America or something.
In comics.
These have all been at different time periods or whatever.
So then there's that story. Then we move on to 11. Okay,
which is
kind of like where they got
Ocean's 12.
Yeah, they've got Spider-Girl.
Captain Marvel, Shang-Chi.
Yeah, Shang-Chi. What's this girl with the... Is that supposed to be Black Widow? It's not Black Widow, is it?
Yeah, that's Black Widow.
Okay, Black Widow.
They just have her in a weird outfit. That's not... She doesn't wear that anywhere in the comic.
Who's this guy? The flaming guy?
Sunspot, I think?
Oh, yeah, Sunspot. So they're sending them into this, like, casino to infiltrate... some information from AIM.
Oh, wait, here we go.
What kind of...
Black Widow, Captain Marvel, Spider-Woman, Shang-Chi, Sunspot, and Cannonball.
Okay, Cannonball, that's right.
And so Sunspot and Cannonball are like the 2 goofball dudes that just want to go and get drunk and they don't really care about the mission. Black Widow wants to torture... She wants to torture everybody, seduce them, and then torture and pull out their fingernails. Captain Marvel wants to play high-stakes poker and bet the guy for secrets. And then Shang-Chi just goes out and starts kicking everybody's ass.
Right. To get information.
And it's like they...
And then
it was a fun story,
well, yeah, and then
but it is so disconnected from everything else. They meet with these
AIM people like, you know what, we can fight, but you know what?
Let's get drunk. Party.
Yeah. Let's just party.
There are 3 AIM agents, and 2 of them are like, I don't know,
and
that sounds like a good idea.
Have the AIM helmets on.
They're wearing tuxedos, but wearing the helmets.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the 3rd guy is like, guys, come on, we shouldn't do this. So they tie him to a chair while the rest of them get drunk. And it's just, like, it was a fun story, but it felt like filler.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't flow with all the other stuff happening in the books.
Yeah, I guess I kind of had a problem the most with this issue.
Like, this was an annual or a one-shot.
In the end, a bunch of people are killed.
We have a contractual obligation.
Right. Well, they have to get a book out every month, They're running out of time.
They find out that what they were trying to get was like an army of assassins for something, so now they're trying to figure out why they're trying to get an army of assassins.
And again, different artwork than the month before, but still good. I mean, it's not the quality of the storytelling of the individual issue isn't a problem. It's how they all tie together that doesn't seem to work.
See, look, all the AIM guys in tuxedos, their helmets, partying down.
Then we go to what is this? 12.
Now
13?
We're back to the Savage Land, right?
Yeah. Instead of Canada, before it was Canada, now it's Savage Land in 12.
Thor, Hyperion. Is that Hyperion? No.
Hyperion.
Yeah, Hyperion, Spider-Man, Hawkeye, and what's the Constellation lady again? She's
Captain
new.
Universe.
Right.
Is that right?
Something Universe.
Iron Man, Thor, Hawkeye, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Captain Universe, and Hyperion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this issue is called Evolve, and basically there's all these like fledgling creatures. They're all like kids. They look like zebras.
And they're evolving super
They're evolving,
quick.
but they don't need oxygen. They don't need to eat. It's like they're like a
They're just rapidly growing and learning is all they're doing.
humanoid type
Yeah.
creatures. So they split them up into teams to like basically learn a little bit more about being a living being. I never really understood. What
You
they were
find
really
out
trying
you
to
find out
teach
that the
them.
guy in the garden with the two funky horns that are the wrong
Right.
size, he's trying to make Earth into a sentient being. So
Right.
he's creating these creatures to learn different aspects of life to somehow combine together to make Earth alive.
And this one guy, let's backtrack a little bit, launched all these pods all around Earth.
Right, which made these different worlds. So
Right.
that's what they were doing in Canada earlier. That's what they're doing here.
Right.
And the one thing I really, this felt like the biggest like no prize in history, is that they had Iron Man has been in Avengers, but Iron Man in the Iron Man books went into deep space with Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy.
He's gone. So
And
what they have now
so in
is
this one, they just have Iron Man flips up his faceplate.
and it's a screen.
And it's a
of
screen,
Iron Man.
and Tony Stark is like, "Oh, I'm 67 billion light years
with the
away right now,
Guardians."
but you know, this is how I control my robots here on Earth. So you think that I'm here?" And it's like, that's the biggest cop out
Yeah.
and bad storytelling. Like you need to set that up,
Right.
not suddenly like find yourself in this hole you have to dig out. So it's like, oh well, it's a robot with a hologram screen. That makes sense.
So in this one, like Hyperion is like kicking back at a pool while the kids are like climbing a
No,
rock
that's
and-
Hawkeye and Spider-Woman.
Hawkeye and Spider-Woman. I'm sorry. There's like sitting at the beach, but you get to see Spider-Woman in a bikini. Which is kind of nice. Yeah, there you go.
Noise.
And
Well
Thor's
done. Well
telling
done.
the off-color
Yes.
stories to the kids, and he throws a rock to make them
Right.
go
We
and
talked
find
about
it.
the stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spider.
I thought that was kind of funny. He like puts like a symbol on a rock and like chucks a rock at him out, and he's like, "This chalk rep or this
This is a
rock-
magic stone that must be returned. Go get it now." And then he's like, "All right, I'm done."
And then
Spider-Man is supposed to teach the kids about trust, and so they leave and they come back and he's saying, "Okay, now that he's not paying attention to you, walk up behind him and put him in a chokehold."
right.
You know, he's like, "You've gained
Which you
his
gotta
trust,
remember,
now
it's-
abuse it."
It's the Doc Ock.
Well, that's what I'm
Spider-Man.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And then at the end, the High Evolutionary appears.
Right.
So the High Evolutionary somehow ties into all
Yeah,
of this.
he sends these beasts and grabs the kids and meets them. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. So again, it's like as an individual issue, but how does it tie in? Like,
Well,
these things.
I think like you, I think it's really creative to take a bunch of different stories and somehow make them all tie in together. Yes, but I think it also dilutes the weight of the title. It gets to the point where like you've got too many different stories. You can't really take ownership of one.
Right.
You know, and it's only at the end where you're like, oh well, you know, I really like this one part. Well, it's like, why didn't that one part just be the one that existed the whole
like,
time?
I feel like the Captain America chapter should be Avengers. The one with Thor and Hyperion should be New Avengers.
Right.
And the one with all of them fighting the Hydra agents in the casino, that should be Secret Avengers.
Right.
Your 3 Avengers books, that's what they should be. Instead, they've got separate books going on with a lot of the same characters
Right.
doing similar stuff at the same time. It's like they've done too much with Avengers and they've spread them too thin. Too many other things going on.
Okay, so I'm going to just dive right into the next topic of discussion, which I'm really thrilled about. Walking Dead.
Are you ready to shift gears?
Yeah, I'm ready to shift gears. Let's slam
You're
right into
ready
it.
to
We've
go.
done enough. We've
We're-
talked about Avengers enough.
48 minutes into the show, and now it's time to just switch straight
Yep,
up to...
that's
You want-
how we roll.
Let's take a commercial break first.
Okay, and when we
Let's-
come back, we're going to talk about issues 109, 110, and
111.
a sneak peek of 111.
Which it won't be out for a week and a half. So
Yeah.
we got an advanced look at
so
111.
no spoilers. Sorry, kids.
We won't spoil it, but we will talk about it. So there you go.
Sit tight for your local radio station.
Hey guys, Dirt here, calling from our 24-hour voicemail line. That's right, you can call us at the Pop Culture Network anytime, day or night, and leave up to 10 minutes on our voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. Or, if you're on Skype, look for username DirtMound. That's me. You can get a hold of our 24-hour automated voicemail line and just go crazy. You can leave us feedback on our shows, or you can talk about upcoming stuff that you think is cool that we should cover on the website, or just sing us songs. That'd be cool. Whatever. So remember, call our 24-hour voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. So are we doing this or what?
What, the show?
Yeah.
Oh, we're still going to record the rest of the show.
Well, I don't know. It's been 35 minutes since we went to commercial break.
Well, what did we miss? We were doing a little recap of a few things. We had some topics of discussion, some things that had to be shared.
Like moonshine.
Moonshine.
And moonshine.
Yep.
And we drank some more moonshine. And then everybody else left.
Yep.
Now it's just the two of us again.
Yeah, it's a good way to kill the audience.
It's been a while. Yeah, moonshine has this way of just making people not want to talk to each other and just kind of go off and do their own thing.
Because they're having a party in their head.
It's like, moonshine, I gotta go lay down. Is basically what happens.
It's like, I think moonshine either makes you black out or think way too much. One of the two.
Although we did have a nice 10-minute discussion about Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been a whole nother show.
So you too can drink moonshine and talk about Mel Brooks.
If you do drink moonshine and want to talk about Mel Brooks, make sure to call our 24-hour voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. Again, it's a 24-hour voicemail line. You can leave up to a 10-minute voicemail. And it's time to turn off the TV again because Beyonce was on.
Yeah, doing the Coke, Pepsi commercial, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. All right, so you wanted to talk about Walking Dead.
Huh?
Do you still want to talk about Walking Dead? Because it's been a half hour.
Yeah.
Is there something that's still on your mind?
Let's do this. I put it somewhere.
Now, we are going to talk about 109,
Yep.
110,
Yep.
and the upcoming 111.
Preview 111.
So let's see.
109 is basically the end of a story arc. Well, the end of a story within an arc, I guess. It's the end of a story.
Something happens.
There's some closure.
About the death of Glenn. Yeah.
Glenn is dead.
Sucks.
People mourn. There's some build-up as far as to what Rick really intends on doing. And...
okay, so basically, what they're setting up is the Hilltop,
right.
Which is the group where Jesus came from.
Jesus.
Then there's Rick's group of your Walking Dead regulars.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Kingdom, which is run by Ezekiel.
Right.
And they're talking about all three of those groups coming together to take on Negan.
Right.
And so right now, Rick has Negan thinking that Negan has them beat and that Rick is going to do whatever it takes to
Right.
Keep everybody safe.
But he's been slowly letting his secret out.
Yeah.
Amongst his closest allies.
Like Jesus and Michonne know about it.
Andrea eventually knows about it.
Yeah, he brings her in on it. Basically, they're putting together this team.
Carl knows about it. More or less.
And
Andrea is basically his girlfriend now.
and there's this new thread that's coming up with Spencer. Spencer is the son of whoever used to run.
Yes.
Was it Hilltop?
Yeah.
And he thinks he should be in charge. He doesn't like Rick. Rick is always going out and doing stuff. He's never there. And so Spencer is trying to...
He kind of challenges Rick.
slowly usurp Rick's
Right.
hold over the...
Because he killed his daddy. So that's 9. So it's kind of an end and build at the same time. We move on to 10. Okay. In 10,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
we learn a little bit more about Ezekiel.
Uh-huh.
Basically, Ezekiel,
He takes a shining to Michonne.
That's right. The Dreadies unite. Because he has dreadlocks. He's African American.
Oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant they were Judge Dredd fans.
Yes.
Dreadies.
Yeah, they read a lot of 2000 AD. So, what do we learn in this one?
Well, we get basically the backstory of Ezekiel.
The Jesus, kind of spilled the beans to this one dude and then realizes that dude's going to go tell Negan. So he goes intercept that guy and kind of confront him. Basically gets him to turn over to his side and stop being a coward. So we think.
Mm-hmm.
Ezekiel they finally meet Ezekiel for the first time. Michonne and Rick and the whole gang that went on this meeting party. Ezekiel reveals himself as kind of like this like king lord with this pet tiger.
Right.
You know,
And Michonne like is not buying it.
No.
Thinks he's full of crap.
she feels insulted.
So basically, the two of them like stray away from this party or whatever,
Yeah,
and Ezekiel basically like breaks down, doesn't break down, but breaks his act.
Explains
and
himself.
Says he used to be a zookeeper,
Right.
and
he took care of this tiger since it was a cub.
and so the tiger is just like a big kitty that follows them around.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that basically everybody was looking for a leader and they wanted something special, so he just started acting and pretending he was something big, and so people just kind of rallied behind him, and that's how he became the leader. And he said it just works, you know, so that's why he's this king of this.
So then she kind of appreciates his honesty, kind of.
And I think she starts to take a shine on
Yeah,
him,
Yeah, and you know what I
which
thought
means that he's dead.
Here's
He's
a-
going to die.
Did you catch this misprint at the end?
Misprint.
What issue is this?
Oh, how it says next issue is 110, even though you're looking at 110?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Ha! Caught a misprint.
Um,
But
Before we get into 111, though, just
Okay.
looking at 9 and 10.
like even Carl's buying into Ezekiel.
No.
and also-
Here's what I want to talk about. Everybody loves Robert Kirkman.
Okay.
The Walking Dead is the greatest comic since sliced bread had comics. And I'm starting to kind of lose my affinity for Kirkman's style. Because we've talked about before how he does a lot of writing for the trade. And it's so apparent in these
that it's all supposed to be
issues.
just a trade.
that, yeah, it's like rarely do these issues end on any sort of cliffhanger. It's like he's telling the story and the story just stops because he's filled up his 22 pages or whatever.
Right.
And then the next issue starts as if, like, just from that moment on.
Which is difficult for a collector because you got to go at least a month before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If these books were bi-weekly, it might not seem as that big of a deal. But for a monthly book, it's really... It's become so apparent that he's writing for the trade and that the individual issues don't matter.
Right.
And I'm really like I said, I'm starting to lose my affinity for his style because it's so jarring to go. You read the issue and you're watching this like slice of life, and it just kind of stops, and then you
Right.
open the next issue and it's just kind of going again. It's like there's no resolution at the end of an issue. There's no. I think 111 does a little better job than 109 or 110. I think 111.
111, there's a lot more excitement going on.
Yeah, more stuff happens. The one thing that we can say, because they kind of give this away with the cover, is that Negan reappears.
And he's using a knife.
It centers around him, so he's a big, important part of the story again.
Right.
So you're starting to find out what's happening with him while everybody else is traipsing around trying to do their thing. So in that regard, 111 is a better issue than the last couple, but it still does that whole thing where you don't really get a beginning, a middle, and an end. As far as your beginning, a middle, and an end, the closest thing you get to it is the main character he interacts with, which I don't want to give away.
Right.
But
Would you still consider him a main character?
No, he's not a main character. He had the potential to become.
Okay, yeah.
Oh man, I just kind of
Yeah, we can't talk about too much.
I am doing too much, and I don't want to spoil it. But 111, in regards to that character, does more of giving that character a finale.
Right.
But as far as this continuing story of them building their army to go against him and whatever, it's still like the issue kind of starts and the issue kind of ends.
Can we talk about this? This isn't giving away anything too much, is it?
Michonne?
Yeah, this part.
Sure. What do you want to say about it?
Well, I just thought it was clever. There's a part where, and it's a trust thing. Like you see Michonne after she had her interaction with
Ezekiel.
She shuts the door. She sets her sword by the door, drops her bag, climbs into bed with a smile on her face, and then she stands up. She's like, or sits up in her bed, and she's like, "Oh, don't be stupid," and then grabs the
sword and
puts it right on her chest.
So she's starting to feel relaxed.
And then she's like, "No."
Yeah, starting to let her guard
That's a
down
bad
and realizes
idea.
she shouldn't. So
I mean, Michonne is one of those characters. Like, one thing I really like about her is, yes, she's dynamic. Yes, she's changed, but her principles are always there. Like, her principles have never changed.
yeah.
So, I mean, she's probably the character I still respect the most, even more than Carl or Rick. Yeah, I really can't talk about much else because there is a lot of content in here.
There is one page with zombies in issue 111.
Yeah, you actually get to see zombies in the 24 pages.
Helicopter.
They're looking for me.
All right, well, that was...
But we know leading up to this that Rick is definitely forming an army, and is supposed to be meeting with Ezekiel's army and Hilltop's army, and they're all supposed to get together and unite and fight Negan. Negan at this point is naive to all this, we think, and going about his business. So
I will say that 111 does...
Are you okay over there?
Yeah, well, I was just saying, Negan's one of those
Is this
characters...
hurting to say?
Negan, I don't know, however you say his name. He's one of those characters where he's a total jerk and maniac and slaughters Glenn, but then when he finds Carl, he kind of he seems kind of okay. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem like that bad of a dude, whatever, and you start to kind of he's just trying to do his thing, keep people safe. He's running his own.
But then he snaps.
But then in 111, he's back to being the maniac again. Like, you kind of see that part of his personality again. And I don't...
It's almost strategic, though. I still feel it's almost... Yes, he's a maniac, but I think he strategically does those things, those crazy things. He's, kill people randomly. Almost
but to me, it feels...
Still be the alpha gorilla on the hill.
But he still feels to me...
You still think he's a psychopath?
No. It feels kind of forced with his character. Like, his character's nice when it fits the story, and he's mean when it fits the story, and I don't feel like it's the character contemplating, it's the writer, because that's what Kirkman needs. You know what I mean? It's like Kirkman wrote him as being kind of funny and kind of likable for a couple issues, did the whole thing with Carl, but there's this big fight coming up, so you need to know he's a bad guy, so he kind of goes back to making him into a bad guy again. And it's kind of like... it feels a little inconsistent.
Here's another thing. Okay, so let's say Sam's Walking Dead TV show.
Uh-huh.
Do you think The Walking Dead would have gone much further past 100? Do you think Kirkman would have wrapped it up?
You mean if there was no TV show?
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like...
So in that
this character...
And we know that the TV show, while it's very similar to the comic book, is different. It's almost like an alternate universe of.
Right. But the governor in the comic is completely different from the governor in the show, and the governor in the show is basically Negan in the comics.
Right.
So it's like, once the show had this character, he couldn't go back to the governor, obviously, because he killed the governor early on. So instead he creates this new character who's very similar looking and very similar acting, and seems almost like the TV show version of the governor, and it's like that has given him the momentum to keep going. Yeah, yeah. I mean...
So do you think that in retrospect, he...
I mean, I don't know if he would have wrapped it up necessarily at 100, but I think there wouldn't have been this Negan character. You wouldn't have had these three kingdoms or whatever coming together. It would have been... I think Rick originally would have died. But I think the TV show is influencing the comic.
Yeah.
Definitely. And in many ways I enjoy it, but it's beginning... Walking Dead used to be like, when I was unpacking the comics, it'd be the first one I would read.
This is,
And now that we get the advanced copies from Image, it used to be the first thing I would download. I would look through their books and be like, oh, Walking Dead, got to read that. And now it's like I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like, oh yeah, there's Walking Dead, I'll get to it. You know what I mean? It's like
I'm
on my list.
I'm still on the gotta read that. You
Oh,
know?
I mean, I will read it, but I'm beginning to feel more and more like I don't have to read it right away. I can wait until like I might skim through it now, but then I'll wait until there's 2 or 3 issues that I haven't really gotten into, and I'll read them all at once because they work better reading them together as a group than trying to sit down and read them as a monthly comic.
Well, I have to say, after processing what you've said, I buy into what you're saying. I get it. I still really like what's going on. I don't mind the Three Kingdoms. I don't mind that.
Well, I'm not saying I mind it.
But I do see your point in the fact that it does feel like this is just a collection of works made to go into a trade or a hardcover. And that sometimes is frustrating as a collector, because it's like, oh crap, well, I know this is leading to somewhere. It's probably going to be in the middle of the next book that I'm not going to be able to read till next month.
It's funny because one of the things on Comixology is that every so often they run those 99-cent sales of old books.
Right.
And they did this a couple months ago with Justice League, and I bought a whole bunch of old Justice League books. And I didn't get around to reading them for a long time. They were just kind of sitting there in my account, but it's like 99 cents, I'm going to buy them. And I sit down to read them, and they're so dense. Like these it's like one book that went, back then they were like 40 pages. So it was like 36 pages of story or 32 pages of story, whatever. And it was like in those 32 pages, there would be what would today be like 4 issues of a regular comic. So you would get an arc, like they would break it into chapters. You would have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 in a standard comic. And each page would have 6 to 10 panels, and half of it would be, dialogue and writing. And the way Kirkman does Walking Dead is it's so spaced out, and it's so, everything.
It's a compendium of
everything
work.
takes its time, which is one thing. Like, I guess it's nice to be able to tell your story the way you want to, but then at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I was buying these on the stands at $2.99 a pop, compared to a lot of other comics on the stands, I don't know that I'd be getting my $3 worth in a single issue.
In a nutshell, the show has given him enough notoriety that he can kind of do it more at his pace, his style, and less more of what possibly the avid collector would want.
Yeah, I definitely feel like he's more...
Not to saying that he's insensitive to his readers. I just think that, you get caught up in... he's got basically 2 stories going at once right now. He's got the show, and he's got the comic.
Right. But the comic market is broken into a couple different groups. Your first group is your guys who buy the monthly books. That they go every week to their comic shop, get their books. But then there's the book market people who buy the trades. They go to Barnes & Noble or they go on Amazon and order the trades. And I just feel like...
He's catering more to the book market.
He caters more to that book market, and he caters more for... Like, it's great for new readers, for someone brand new to go back and pick up those books and sit down and read the book.
My wife's got the first volume on her phone.
It's easy to sit down and read those old volumes because they flow together so well, but for the people reading the monthly comic, it just doesn't seem to work that well. And so, like I said, I'm just kind of losing my... As time goes on, I just get more and more like I want a resolution. I want to feel like each issue has some sort of build-up and resolution, not just for the sake of the arc, but for each issue, and he's not doing that. And that's kind of a classic comic storyteller thing that's kind of, going by the wayside.
I agree.
So,
I see that point.
So, I mean,
but
I still like it. I still read it.
It's still at the top of my list. I'm still very excited when I know there's a new Walking Dead coming out. And when we get these advanced PDFs, it's the first thing I read when I get it. Like when you told me earlier that you had sent me forward me the email and I didn't know about it, I was like, really? I must get that. And I absorbed it right away. All right. How about you? Would you like to share something?
Well, do you want to talk about the book that's coming out this week, Invincible Universe 3?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We've covered 1 and 2 here previously on the show, so we can go to Invincible Universe 3, which is coming out this week. Hopefully, I'll get this show up before this issue comes out. I should. But basically, page number. Let's go back to page 1. Invincible Universe, as the name implies, is set in the same world as the Invincible comic, but this focuses on a lot of the other characters.
The side missions.
This more or less takes the place of Guarding the Globe, which is
Right.
the Guardians of the Globe series. They shut that one down and started this, so you get to see the other people in this world. And the first 2 issues went together to tell the story of crime lord, Chinese guy with the dinosaur ghost in him, whatever.
Right.
The dragon ghost. This is a completely different. This is a new storyline that's not really part of that. In it, the character Chupacabra is dealing with the fact that Cast Iron, another hero, died in battle because Chupacabra is an alcoholic and he was drunk at the time.
Right. Admittedly.
Yeah, he admits it. He's in therapy, trying to get through it, and he feels so guilty about the death of Cast Iron that he decides he's got to meet with the family in order to
Get some
apologize
resolution.
and make amends, whatever. Cast Iron was Russian, so he goes to the Russian Federation and tries to go to the small town where Cast
He
Iron
meets
is
like
from.
his father.
Yeah, he meets his family, and I don't want to, again, how do we deal with spoilers? The one spoiler I will say, though, is that Cast Iron's family, as it turns out, are dirtbags.
Yeah.
And
they're like the trailer trash of...
they're like Russian mafia, backwoods Russian farm mafia, whatever. And I don't want to say too much beyond that, other than at the end of the issue, it wrapped up the story. So it's like the first issue was part 1 of a story, second issue was part 2 of a story, and then that story wrapped up, and now issue 3 is its own standalone story, and I kind of got to the end of it, and I did feel a little like, oh, that's...
Cheated.
Like, that's it?
Yeah.
Like...
I felt a little cheated.
And again, I
I'm
just
not- I'm not
complained, like,
buying
this
in-
is the opposite.
I'm not buying into Invincible Universe that much.
Yeah,
you know?
and I just complained about Walking Dead not having setup and resolution in every issue, and this one had setup and resolution, but it was too much.
Right.
Like, this was too much of the opposite direction. This could be the final issue of Invincible Universe. This could be it. And this wrapped everything up. I don't need to read any more Invincible Universe. Like, there's nothing to bring me back next issue. You know what I mean?
Right.
They didn't set up anything for reading your monthly comic that's going to make you go, oh, I got to check out the next issue. This was it. And I don't know. It didn't.
It really, Invincible Universe still hasn't really earned.
And another part of the problem.
Earned that.
Part of
that
Part of Kirkman's
niche that makes you want to like go and get the next issue.
Part of Kirkman's thing is the characters. He's always character driven, and this being written by, I think Phil Hester writes Invincible Universe. I don't feel like I care about Chupacabra.
No.
Like, I don't have really any reason.
Or the Russian guy that get
Or Cast Iron who got killed. It's like I don't.
Oh, you just spoiled it.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is what sets him off.
Okay,
When Cast Iron gets
Cast
killed,
Iron.
it sets him off to go talk to the family. Like, I don't feel like I have a connection to the character, so I don't really care. So there's nothing there that really kind of pulls you in on the character, and then it ends, and it's like, okay, so now it's over. So
Right.
it's kind of... It exists, but I don't feel like I really... And I don't know if maybe... Because I didn't read Guarding the Globe. I don't know if you read Guarding the Globe, if maybe it stands out. I wish Huckster was here, because he reads all the Invincible stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a big character in that, and so that makes a difference. But for me, coming from Invincible, picking up a book called Invincible Universe, the first book tied in, and it tied in well, or the first 2 issues, but the third issue just doesn't really feel like it belongs.
No, it's almost like a standalone, and just like you said, it doesn't really have a lot of weight. Doesn't make me want to read Invincible Universe number 4.
Now, having said that, it's not like it discourages me. It's not like Earth 2 from DC
But it's
Comics
not-
where I'm like, I never want to read
It's
another
not
issue.
like Invincible,
Right.
where I'm just like, okay, I'm totally ready.
Your girlfriend's fat and pregnant. We got it. Move on with the
Okay,
story.
yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's just kind of there. It exists, and I can't say I'm excited for it. I didn't hate it, but it's not pulling me in to make me want to keep reading. So that is
Okay.
that. How about, I was going to say Star Trek, but you haven't seen the movie and you haven't read issue 21.
21. No, I have not. Go ahead and tell me. Lay it on me.
Well, you've read Star Trek up
20.
to this, right?
Yeah, I read up to 20.
So 20 is the one with Chekhov and Sulu?
Yes.
That's their backstory? Okay, so the last few issues of Star Trek...
When they're in the
it told
academy and all
well, I was just in general.
Yeah.
The last 5 issues or so tells you Scotty's story, it tells you Bone's story, it tells you Uhura's story. Chekhov and Sulu was the latest issue. So it's been going back and kind of filling in that backstory. Whereas the first 12 issues or so were all dealing with episodes of the TV series redone in this new universe. The last... 5 or 6,
Which
whatever.
I was kind of hoping they were kind of going to go back to,
Well, they kind of
they
are.
kept doing these individual stories.
They,
I'm like,
I
okay.
think they were doing that just as setup for the movie, because the movie doesn't really get a chance to do that.
Oh, so they're just killing time till the movie gets going.
Well, they want to flesh out the characters a little bit more. Did you read the prequel comic though? The 4-issue.
Yes.
Okay. Countdown to Darkness.
Yes.
All right. So.
I don't have it on this tablet though.
Countdown to Darkness, John Harriman, I think it's John Harriman, was the original captain of the Enterprise, faked his death, and he's working with this alien race.
Yeah, they've got his shuttle hooked up to, or his ship hooked up to some kind of grid.
And they bring in Mudd, Harry Mudd in the original series was this smuggler. He was basically like Han Solo in the Star Trek world, before Han Solo existed. In this version, it's actually a Bajoran female, and they think that the speculation online is that it's his daughter that they find. And it's funny because in the prequel comic, they steal her ship, like her smuggler's ship. They take her into custody and take her ship.
Right.
The ship comes back to play in the movie.
Oh, really?
So people watching the movie, there's this one point in the movie where they're like, hey, get Mudd's ship ready. We're going to use that for blah, 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 blah. If you've never read the comics, you don't know why that ship is there or anything, but this sets up for, that's why they have the ship, is because of this story.
Interesting.
And also, this whole story is built around the Prime Directive, and Harriman basically gave up on the Prime Directive to save this species from genocide. The opening of Into Darkness is Kirk being confronted with the same type of situation, and he also breaks the Prime Directive because he's seen from this
what happens
story
when you don't.
that sometimes it is worth breaking.
Right.
And so, of course, Starfleet doesn't like that and whatever, and that kind of sets into motion what happens at the beginning of the movie. So it's like, this gives you story background and character development that's needed for the movie to make sense. And so I've read reviews of people who saw the movie and have no idea that the comic is even out there, and they're like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Why the hell would he make that decision? Well, it's like, because he saw right here in this story why. And the producers of the movies are working with the comics to make the stories fit. So everything that's happening in the comics...
So before you watch Into Darkness, you need to read the comics.
Yeah, you really need to read Countdown to Darkness. It does set up all that stuff. And it even brings the Klingons into play. So when the Klingons appear in the movie, you have a little bit of background.
Well, I know what I'm reading before I go to bed tonight. 21.
And then in 21, what we get is basically... let's see. Let me go back to bookshelf. In 21, we get a continuation after the events of the movie. And one of the big things that happens, well, I can't really talk about that.
Can't talk about anything.
Well, okay, you said you wanted it to go back to stories from, and it does. in the original series, there's the episode where Spock, every 7 years, Vulcan males go through the thing where they have to fight and they have a mating
Right.
ritual thing. And that
Kind of like
begins to happen.
Zoidberg.
Yeah, well, I wonder where they got that for Futurama.
No, Zoidberg was first.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Show that came later must be first. But that starts to happen in this issue. So they are going back to stuff that happened in the TV show. And one thing, I will give this away, at the end of the movie is when they begin the 5-year voyage.
Oh,
These
right.
are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise, its 5-year mission. Like, that begins at the end of the movie. So that's where this actually starts. Is like, Bones is like, oh my gosh, they're actually sending us out for 5 years? This is stupid,
Right.
And
I hate ships.
characters from the movie carry over into here. The blonde chick,
Oh, yeah.
she's continuing on
yeah.
in the series, and a group. I don't even know if I should spoil that or not. Because if you haven't seen the movie, like, the movie's been out for a while, so people listening to this, they've seen the movie, but you haven't. So I don't want to spoil that because you plan on seeing it soon.
Yeah. No, we're gonna see it like in the next couple days.
So I don't want to give that away. But one thing that is known,
So, do you think that this issue 21 really is a pinnacle issue for
like,
this
it
ongoing?
really feels
like,
like
other than it being a part of the movie, do you feel like they did this issue more just to connect the movie, or that this issue is a pinnacle issue for the ongoing that is going to create the next story arc?
I think if you walked out of the movie theater and you were like, that movie was great, and you pick this issue up on the stands, then you're like, I've got to keep reading this comic.
Okay. Now, if you read issue 21 and never saw the movie, whatever happened,
Well,
let's say, it just,
here's the
it was
question.
never to be played again. You could
Okay.
never watch the movie again. It was gone. It was wiped from existence. Do you still think that this is
Well, here's the question: are you saying this in the context of someone who watched the original series?
right?
If you watched the original series, for whatever reason you haven't seen the movie, but you pick up this issue, you're going to pick up on the whole Spock, Ponfar
Okay.
thing, and yeah, you're going to feel still at home
Okay.
with the storyline that's going on there.
Cool. Good stuff. I mean, I really like what it's IDW, right?
Yeah.
I like what IDW is doing. I think this is probably one of their best titles.
They've got a couple really good ones right
This
now.
one's pretty good, though. I mean, it's I don't know. I think it appeals to both the old fans and the new fans, which is tough. In a market like this, to launch such a big label that's cherished by old generations and new generations, and still keep them and keep them just excited.
I think it does
Nobody
help.
complains about this ongoing. I mean, I haven't heard really anything bad.
Yeah, I think it really does help that the people who produce the movie are working on the comic, because you do feel like there is a continuation. You do really feel like there's a connection between them, because a lot of times they do stuff in the comics, and as soon as the next movie comes out, everything in the comics is invalidated.
Right.
You get that all the time in these tie-in books, and this really feels like that this is important.
After Darkness, too.
Yeah,
huh?
After Darkness is on the title of the book.
It's a sharp cover, too. I like that.
It's Bradstreet.
Is that Bradstreet?
Yeah, Tim
Okay.
Bradstreet does all the covers.
So yeah, we really can't talk much more about it, and I haven't read it yet anyways, so... Star Trek Ongoing. Thumbs up? Thumbs
Absolutely,
down.
absolutely
Okay.
thumbs up. Big nerd in me loves that book.
Yeah.
Much like I do everything Star Trek. Another thing I want to just kind of quickly, I don't want to get too in-depth into it, but another book that IDW is doing that is a
You keep bugging me about, like...
media tie-in is a Jericho Season 4.
Based on TV show.
Continuing the TV show. The writers of the TV show basically are working with IDW to continue as if the TV show was still going. This is what the TV show would have been, is what you're getting in the comic. And the one thing about, I don't know, I forget who the artist is on this now. I'm trying to find it real quick. Jafar. I don't know who that is. But regardless, he's taking photographs of the actors and incorporating and drawing basically the bodies, putting the photograph in for their head, and then drawing the head and taking the photograph out. So when you look at it, it looks like the actors, and sometimes it's a little too photo.
Brushed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it when they do that. It's like the body doesn't fit the head.
It's like the shading is a little off. So
yeah,
like
the neck doesn't look real.
Yeah, so there's some times when you get the artwork and it's a little too.
Hope you're floating.
Yeah, there's something. My screen is dirty. I need to wipe it because it's registering taps somewhere else on the screen. But yeah, so it's like there are times when you look at it and it's like you're looking at the TV show and it looks good, and then there are other times where it's like a little too uncanny.
Right.
But as far as the story goes, if you are a fan of the Jericho TV show, you should be reading this. And there are a lot of people told me I needed to watch the show, and I didn't get into it for a long time because the first couple episodes of the show were god awful.
Yeah.
It took a while for the show to pick up steam, and then once it did, it got really good. Then you need to be reading this comic to continue that story. So that's another kind of media crossover. Like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it, but really good for the fans of that show. All right, how about you? What you got?
I got nothing.
You got weather reports.
Yeah.
You're looking at is there
Well,
rain
there's been
coming?
a lot of crazy weather in the Midwest lately.
Lots
so.
of tornadoes.
A lot of tornadoes.
Any
tornado
F3s heading
warnings.
this
I was
way?
in St. Louis, and there was like a tornado whale.
I know. I left St. Louis, and then the tornadoes came because you were there.
We were in a hotel, and we ended up like raiding a conference room and putting a bunch of tables together, playing D&D till like 1:30 in the morning. It was a fantastic bachelor party.
All right. So, anything else you want to talk about?
Green Hornet.
Okay.
Um,
Mark Waid.
You know, it's
You tried Green Hornet when it first relaunched with Kevin Smith,
Kevin
right?
Smith. Now, Mark Waid has taken a more traditional approach, I think, to Green Hornet. It's oh, see, I just lost it. There we go. I mean, obviously the art and the story is almost completely different. In this, it's very similar to the classic sense where the Green Hornet is trying to be a bad guy, trying to make everybody think that Green Hornet is a bad guy when in fact he's, fighting crime. To kind of throw off everybody. He's still manipulating the press to...
He wants the villains to think he's a villain,
Right.
but he's actually there to take them down.
Exactly. It's only the first couple of issues into it, so I don't want to be too critical of it. I'm looking forward to the next issue, only because I want to see if there's some build going on here. I sense build, not really hooked yet.
Mm.
And there's not enough here to really say this is the style he's going towards. Other than it does feel like it is more like the old Green Hornet.
Compared to the Kevin Smith
It's different.
first issue, though, do you feel...
It's more like a crime story. It's more like a,
But do you feel like you enjoy this more than what Kevin Smith did, or did you enjoy Kevin Smith's different take on it more?
Kevin Smith was a lot of flash. Whereas this is more... It feels more like a crime story. So I think I'm actually more intrigued with the Mark Waid version.
Okay.
But it's a little early to tell. I think if you liked the Kevin Smith version, I think you should definitely give this Mark Waid version a chance.
Because a lot of people who read the Kevin Smith version gave up on it after Kevin Smith left.
Okay, well, let me rephrase that. If you didn't like the Kevin Smith version, give the Mark Waid version a chance. But I guess so. You're only a couple issues in. I'm sure it's not a super popular book. It's probably not. I mean, you tell me.
No.
It's not flying off the shelf, so I'm sure you can find the first couple issues. Check it out. If you want something that's more kind of a classic Green Hornet crime story kind of thing, you'll like it. So, moving on. Supergirl 20 was kind of fun.
Is that part 2 of the Power Girl?
Yes. And there's a lot of
Boob windows back.
Well, it's funny because even Kara, isn't that her name?
Supergirl, yeah.
Yeah, Kara makes a reference like, you really need to take that stupid costume off. You know, it's a little too old for you. You know, and she's like, I got it from your wardrobe. I don't know. In this one, I just love Supergirl. In this one, basically they're in. What is it? It's like, I don't know if they're in like Power Girl's fortress. Maybe it's Supergirl's fortress.
Well, no, they went to Superman's Fortress of Solitude.
Okay, so when they're in there, there's a robot in there, and he's saying, basically, one of you is a clone.
Or you're
must
both
be
clones or whatever.
Must be exterminated. There's like this banter back and forth, and they basically have to defeat.
Although
the
it's
Fortress of Solitude.
it's funny how Supergirl from a different universe is much more busty.
Yes.
Yes. Different body type, even though it's
not
the same.
quite the same.
Yeah.
Not quite the same, but it's fun. I don't know. There's just something.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I've always enjoyed Supergirl. I like the character.
It's almost like Batgirl to me. It's just, although Batgirl's maybe a little bit more intellectual in the sense where there's always like a mystery to be solved kind of thing, because it is, Batgirl.
Well, it's the difference between Batman and Superman.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I think they've done a good job with this Supergirl series of making her own standalone character, and not being just like female version of Superman or this.
Right.
I don't know. It feels more like Superboy. I could live without ever reading again, even though he's a more recognizable character.
Right.
But Supergirl, I really enjoy this book.
Yeah.
In fact, Supergirl.
I like the art. I've always liked the art with this.
Supergirl is one of those series that I do buy in paper as well as read the digital. Same with Savage Hawkman. I do, and Flash. I do paper and digital.
Oh, I've really bought into the character too. Like I just like her, not just because she's really cute in that outfit, and I want her to be real, and I want to meet her. But yeah, Michael Allen Nelson does a good job. Muhammad Asrar.
Wait a minute, that's Michael Allen Nelson?
Yeah.
Isn't he the guy who did 28 Days Later?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean,
that's why we like him.
That book was great also.
And what a great cover.
Because you got boob window.
Yeah, boob window. So yeah, I wonder if she's going to give up the boob window now that she got put down by her clone. Made fun of.
Not her clone.
Oh, well. Alternate self.
Alternate version of herself.
Home Invasion was the name of this one.
Have you been reading Justice League and Justice League of America?
I am not current on the last issue. It was on. I had 5 more comic books I was trying to cram before this show, and then I spent the last hour trying to put kids to bed, so it didn't happen.
The last issue of Justice League of America, which I think is 21.
Lay it on me.
And this version of Justice League of America, number 4, Justice League of America. These 2 books are starting to feel like there's something going on. You take these 2 books. One of the things with Justice League is when it started, you had the story with Darkseid, and all the characters came together. And then as soon as that story arc was done, then it was like jump to the present time,
right?
And you've had like Catwoman, and you've had, it's not Catwoman. You had
Catwoman.
What was it? The tiger lady, Cheetah. You had the Cheetah story for a couple issues, and you had the whole thing with the kiss between Superman and Wonder Woman, and you just had all this kind of random stuff kind of going on. The last issue of Justice League, they started to bring all these different threads together, and then in issue 4 of Justice League of America, they started to bring a lot of their threads together.
Right.
And you start to finally see
real teams.
The parallel. Well, you start to see the parallel between the 2 books and how the 2 books are starting to converge.
Okay.
Because coming up this summer is Trinity War, which is going to be Justice League Dark, Justice League, and Justice League of America all somehow coming together into some big
war
battle, and so they're starting to pull all these different story threads together. And it's getting back to the point where now I'm excited for the books again. After reading the last issue of Justice League, I was like, well, now I'm excited to read Justice League of America. Now that I've read Justice League of America, I'm beginning to go, I haven't read Justice League Dark since like issue 3. Now I'm ready to kind of pick up, maybe I'll get the last 2 issues of that and start to get into it again.
Like,
it's making me excited for it.
I collect Justice League, and I just started collecting Justice League of America. I don't collect Justice League Dark. I just couldn't get into it.
Right.
So I guess we'll see how I feel about Trinity.
One thing about Justice League of America is this happens.
Oh.
And this has been big news online the last couple days, is that Catwoman gets shot in the head and left for dead.
Wow.
And it looks like Catwoman. And she's shot in the head. You see blood splatter out the other side of her head. She falls to the ground.
Eyes open.
Her eyes are open. She's got the dead eyes. It appears, for all intent and purposes, that they've killed Catwoman. And the question is, how do we go from here? And the thing that comes to my mind is Justice League Dark deals with all the paranormal. Mm-hmm. You got John Constantine. You got Dead Man. So I'm thinking there's going to be something where Selina Kyle is dead, but something's going to happen with her soul and her spirit in Justice League Dark.
To solve the crime.
And it'll somehow bring her back.
It'll be Dead Man all over it. It could be a Dead Man story or something.
Right. So I think that's going to how they kind of pull in that part of them, which makes sense because your heroes don't always win.
Was there still an ongoing Catwoman up to this point?
Yeah, it's still going.
So it's no longer going then?
No, it is going. You just don't know how or why or what.
Right. There's going to be a new Catwoman to put on the suit.
We don't know. Or it's going to be the Justice League Dark tie-in with her spirit, or, you just don't know.
Huh.
But yeah, Catwoman is dead. But I'm sure she'll be back. But that's what makes me think it's tying in with how the Justice League Dark.
Well, she doesn't. Maybe it's one of her 9 lives.
And then the backup is another Martian Manhunter story. I really like the one in the last issue, in issue 3, I thought was really good, and this one is really good as well, which talks about his history and giving his origin, and tells why he's afraid of fire, because he's basically a shape-shifting Superman, so he shouldn't have any sort of foibles, but yet for whatever reason, fire is his big...
He's like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Fire bad.
And so this kind of explains why they gave him a reason to be afraid of fire. It's written by Matt Kent, who does mind management for Dark Horse Comics. He's one of those
I've read
indie guys.
The title sounds familiar.
And so it's kind of neat to see him, getting involved and seeing his take on the character. And this little backstory, whatever, that they give is actually the thought process going through Martian Manhunter's mind in the middle of a battle, which takes place earlier in the book. So it still ties in, even though it's kind of a separated story. So overall, I have to give thumbs up to what's going on in Justice League right now. I think America had kind of a rocky start.
It did.
And Justice League kind of lost its way in the middle there, but it's starting to come back together. So I'm really happy for all that's happening in Justice League.
Oh, Soulfire. I tried jumping into that one.
From Aspen?
Yes.
Is that in issue 1, or did you just start with issue 3?
This is 6 or something like that. So obviously, I kind of caught on pretty quickly. Basically, oh shoot, still getting used to this tablet. The story is there's basically. Maybe I'm probably totally butchering this, but I'm jumping in here. There's 4 different dragons that have fallen upon Earth, and they're basically the 4 forces of nature, and they're wreaking plague on Earth.
Are they like the 4 horsemen?
Kind of, or something. I mean, like I said, I'm jumping in the middle of something. So, and back into the universe of Soulfire. They've developed a technology that they've gotten to create weapons to fight these forces, and it's a technology that's not from their plane. So there's a lot of conflict on whether or not to use the technology because it's not of their magical origin. The art is beautiful. The women, of course, are beautiful with big, pretty butterfly wings, and and that's all fun. And the art is pretty clean.
Yeah, Aspen does do a really good job usually with their artwork. I mean, that's one of their things.
The problem I've had for a while now is I'm not that interested in the story.
Is it just because you don't know it?
Well, no. There's been times where I've gone and read like whole volumes because I wanted to be interested in stuff that was going on in Fathom and Soulfire, and I guess it's a fantasy realm that just doesn't interest me that much. I see the interest. I mean, I see the appeal. I guess it's just not my thing. I don't really have anything really bad to say about it. It didn't interest me that much.
It doesn't have a hook for you.
Not for me.
But you see how it could.
Yeah, I can see how there's a market for people that like this style. Like it's... like some people, just adore anime and they like that style. Soulfire, Fathom, they have their own style too. It's a very beautiful story. It's always kind of
there are some books. We've talked about other stuff from Aspen. Shrugged, we both enjoyed. Fathom, I think it kind of depends on the particular arc.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy the stuff where it's like the black versus the blue.
Right.
When it talks about those different groups. Like, I get into that stuff. I kind of like that. But when it goes off into some of the other stuff, I'm not as intrigued by it.
I mean, that's beautiful.
But yeah, they do have great artwork. They've always had great artwork.
I guess just the story that the current arc that they're running here, although like I said, I am jumping like issue 4 or 6 or whatever this is. Just has,
Are you willing to go back?
No.
Okay.
Sorry,
then.
yeah. Let's see what else. Something else that.
You need to get into the shop and get previews.
Yeah, I don't have the latest previews.
Because there's a new issue of previews out. Talks about some upcoming stuff.
Fill me in.
Well, for one thing, there's a new RoboCop Last Stand, which I don't know if you're familiar.
Brand
how familiar?
New arc, starting issue 1.
Yeah. I don't know if you're super familiar with RoboCop in general.
Well, I mean, other than the movies, no. I mean,
Okay, Frank Miller wrote a screenplay for RoboCop 2.
Oh, really?
And they used it kind of as like the basis
that
for
makes sense because it was pretty dark.
Yeah,
and violent.
But they took his movie and kind of homogenized it and superheroed it, and that's what became the movie on the screen. Several years ago, Avatar took his original script for what he wanted to do for RoboCop 2 and made like a 7-issue or 12-issue miniseries based on his script. And it was one of those things where they started fleshing it out, and they just said this is much more than what one movie would be, because he wrote just like this super big treatment, and basically when he was done with that story,
it's on Boom.
Yeah, this is coming from Boom. Boom got the rights to it now. Frank Miller, after he wrote,
so it's different than Did Boom take Avatar's work and make it Boom, or
Boom got the rights to RoboCop?
Okay.
There's a new RoboCop movie coming out next year, or maybe it's this summer. I don't remember. But there's a new movie coming out rebooting the franchise, and so I think Boom got the rights so that they can do the adaptation of the new movie. But before they get into that,
are you excited about the new movie?
Not really, based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
But Frank Miller wrote a continuation of his screenplay from 2.
Okay.
And that's what Last Stand is. So this would be basically his version of 3. RoboCop 3, if you've ever seen the movie, is terrible.
No.
It's like ninjas and jetpacks and terrible. His is basically, RoboCop basically turns against OCP and turns against the government, and so they basically want to track him down and destroy him.
Right.
And this becomes Last Stand. So he's now, instead of the authority figure, he's leading the revolution. more or less. I mean, that's oversimplifying it dramatically,
Right.
but that's the basic idea.
How many issues is this?
I'm not sure how many issues, but they haven't. They didn't really give a whole bunch of information out in advance. It was just kind of one of those things where it's like, Frank Miller, RoboCop, buy it, you know. And I'm like,
I'll buy it.
Yes, I will.
Add it to my pull list, man. I'll check it out.
So that was one of those big things. Marvel's Infinity is beginning to take shape. Thanos, once again, putting the universe in danger, which, I mean, it ties in with Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming and Thanos, you know, being part of that and probably leading into Avengers 2 and whatever else, you know. You kind of knew that was going to be happening, and they're kind of pushing for that, you know, starting now in previews. So that's something to look forward there. But one of the big things is, did you go to the Dark Horse panel at C2E2?
No.
Okay. One of the things that they announced is that Art Baltazar and Franco, the guys who did Tiny Titans and Superman Family Adventures, they've got their new book, Aw Yeah Comics. Mm-hmm. They made a deal with Dark Horse to do Itty Bitty Hellboy. And it is a comedy book for all ages based off the Hellboy universe.
So I can read Hellboy to my children before
Exactly.
they go to bed?
Yes.
Wow.
And they showed off some of the characters and some of the stuff at C2E2, and it's
Was Ron Perlman present?
no, he was not there.
But he was there at the con.
But he was not at their panel.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was. I'm buying this. Like, I'm definitely buying. I will buy this in digital and in print.
Wow.
I will give the print copy to my kids and read
Pretty
the digital.
stoked, huh?
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That looks like so much fun. Yeah, I can't wait for that to come out. Another thing, this is kind of weird. There's a thing going on with Dark Horse. They're bringing back a character called Captain Midnight.
Uh-huh.
Captain Midnight was a character in, I think, the 20s or 30s. It was originally radio serials.
Okay.
It became comics for a while, and then the comic book company that was publishing it went out of business, and the character became public domain. So anybody who wanted to do a Captain Midnight comic could just grab the character and do stories with it. Mm-hmm. And there have been a couple people, mainly there's a guy named Jay Piscopo, does a bunch of comics with Moonstone, I think, where he deals with kind of those 40s characters, kind of that noir feel.
So could anybody finally say, no, it's now mine?
Here's what happened. Dark Horse, somehow they got the trademark to the name Captain Midnight. So they're printing a book called Captain Midnight. Mm-hmm. If anyone else uses the character, even though the character's in public domain, they can't call their book Captain Midnight. And if they have the character, I think they can only refer to him as the Captain.
Right.
They can't actually call him Captain Midnight.
Wow.
So it's like this one of those weird like copyright trademark things going on in the world of comics, which I know is only exciting to about 10% of the people who buy comics, but that's one of those things for me. Like I'm trying to wrap my head around, but I like the character, like Captain Midnight. I like the character of him.
Is he like a Buck Rogers kind of character?
Well, he's like Ace Fighter Pilot.
Okay.
He's like, you know how Batman is like this ninja acrobat, like he's the perfect human
right
gymnast. Captain Midnight is like the perfect human pilot. Like no one is a better pilot.
Fly anything.
Kind of like a Green Arrow with arrows.
Right.
Like he has no superpowers. He's just really good at arrows. Captain Midnight has no superpowers. He's just really good at flying airplanes. You know, but it opens itself up to a lot of that kind of neat stuff. DC with Trinity War, they're kind of getting deeper into that now. The Secret Society, which is a group of villains that you see in Justice League of America, is somehow behind this push. One of the things in Justice League Dark 23 is it says the Justice League continues to fracture as the murder of a hero is solved.
Ooh.
Now, I think that the murder
It's
is
gonna be-
Catwoman,
yeah.
is what they're talking about. But, at this point, when they, first started talking about this book, they couldn't say that,
Right.
but I think that's who it is. So at this point, they're
Well,
figuring out
I
it's
figured
that.
when you told me that was what happened to her, that was going to lead into this Trinity War.
Right.
So obviously there's a lot of finger pointing and who did it. We got to solve it.
And also, DC is releasing a director's cut of the first issue of Trinity War. But this book is actually, I think they're like at issue 3, whatever, into the story. But they're releasing the book with the original pencils. So they're going to reprint the original pencils, which I always find intriguing to look at pencils and then finished artwork.
Because it's
and all
more
that.
artist stylized based.
And you can kind of see like how the progression goes through the different characters and everything. But I mean, those are just some of the things that stood out for me as some of the bigger, more interesting stuff. World's Finest, Power Girl still has her boob window outfit, so the outfit sticks. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
Now you can rest easy knowing the Power Girl's boob window is sticking around.
Not a lot of Superman build-up with a movie coming out.
Well, they have a new Superman series that's going to be premiering called
But nothing
Superman.
like, for example, IDW and Star Trek. I mean, good grief. But I mean,
Well,
there's
yeah,
just not a lot.
but the movies are like Man of Steel is its own thing, kind of like how Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins was its own thing, like the Chris Nolan version of Batman was not Batman from the comics, and the Superman that's in Man of Steel is not Superman from the comics.
Right.
It's its own standalone character. So they are doing Batman Superman as a new ongoing series. A couple years ago, they did Superman Batman as an ongoing series. They did like 80 issues or whatever.
Right.
Now they're going to be doing Batman Superman.
Cool.
Combining the two characters together. They do have Superman Unchained, which is that Scott Snyder? Yeah, Scott Snyder doing Superman.
I'll
with
buy
Jim
it.
Lee doing the artwork.
Ooh, I'll definitely buy it.
So there's that. No Django, as far as I know, in Superman Unchained. And
Great movie.
Batman Incorporated is getting a special, and Bat Cow is going to be in the special. So I'm buying 2 of that one.
I hope the girl Zoe from
Rachel Rising.
Rachel Rising finds Batcow and kills Batcow.
I hope she kills you.
Great. Now I'm gonna have that in my dreams tonight.
Oh,
You got anything else for listeners?
no, I think I'm about ready to wrap it up. It's now 12:30,
Yeah.
so it's past midnight. I better eat something, turn in my gremlin form.
Yep. No, but so I mean, this episode was definitely kind of a catch up.
We had to catch up. We had a lot of stuff that we've had to skip.
We haven't talked comics together in a while. It's been a long month.
One thing I want to do next time we do a Comiholics is I want to get some of the news stories of stuff that's happening in comics to sit and talk about.
Okay. Sure.
Because we don't really get a chance to get into some of that stuff, like writers quitting books and artists who get into fights at Comic Con.
The Perez Hilton version.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I don't want to take MS Paint and write slut on top of somebody's picture, but there is one more thing.
Oh, look, a bag.
This is a bag.
A
Luckily,
Walgreens bag.
everybody else left.
It's a garden gnome.
I want to open a couple of these here.
What is it? Is it Big League Chew?
No, you can have a couple of these. I'm going to open a couple of
Noggins?
these. Yeah. Tell everybody what this is.
Heads
Describe
will
it.
roll. It's a Marvel. It's for 4 years old and 4 years and older. Collect all 45.
These are little plastic Marvel characters that look like deformed heads of Marvel characters. If you're familiar with Go-Go's Crazy Bones,
Okay.
or
So I've got Rogue.
I've got Iron Man and Hulk.
Rogue and
Like, if you can imagine,
Phoenix.
little
Jean
cartoony,
Grey.
little cartoony.
No, another one?
Yeah, go ahead. Versions. Of
Gotta
these
get the
characters.
rapper noises in there, just make it. That's right, we are taking them out of the card.
Out of the bag.
Bag.
Off the card, out
Off
of the bag.
card, yeah.
I got another
Who's
Hulk.
this?
I got
Daredevil.
the exact same pack.
Oh, really?
Here, have a Hulk and Iron Man.
Oh, here's Venom. That's not bad. Daredevil and Venom. It's kind of cool.
Have a Hulk and Iron Man.
Ugh, Iron Man. Don't get me started.
I got a couple
How
more.
much are these?
These were on clearance for like 99 cents.
They look like little candies, though.
Oh,
I
Beast.
wouldn't
Check
give
out.
this to small children.
There's Beast and Storm.
Here,
And-
Venom's gonna come over and harass Beast and Storm.
I'll take Venom.
No way. Venom's mine. I'll give you this Iron Man.
I know, I already have an Iron Man. What is this one? This is Juggernaut and Wolverine.
Here, you want my Daredevil?
I'll take Daredevil.
Here, you can have Daredevil. I don't like that Daredevil. Oh, look. We're already starting a little war here.
So these little guys, apparently, noggins,
No, sir, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again, sir.
you can line them up on the table, flick them at each other in order to knock them down like little
so it's
bowling
like-
things.
Well, like dominoes.
Slam dunk, where you take a cup and try to throw them in. Well, that's-
Doc Ock looks cool. I like Doc Ock.
Yeah, oh, there's a checklist on the other side, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a clear invisible woman.
Well, was that supposed to be Black Spider, not Venom? No, that's Venom.
Oh yeah, there's a Black Spider-Man and a Venom.
Yeah. Captain America looks kind of cool. Some of these are kind of hit and miss. Galactus looks alright.
Sabretooth looks wrong.
Magneto.
Spider-Man looks wrong.
Black Panther looks good.
Thor looks awesome. Oh, Punisher's got a gun.
Oh, does he?
Oh,
yeah,
I
he
wish
does.
I had Punisher.
Oh. Doctor Doom's kind of cool. So some of these are kind of cool, and some of them kind of...
Mr. Fantastic looks pretty cool, actually.
Spider-Man looks kind of weak, actually.
Yeah. Silver Surfer's a blob on a surfboard.
Yeah, some of these are just kind of like a big blob. Huh. Well, very cool.
Actually, we were heading out of town, and these were 49 cents on clearance. We're heading out of town on our trip, and I had to stop at Walgreens to get an adapter for the cigarette lighter for USB
Right.
charger.
Sure.
And I saw these on clearance, so I just grabbed a whole bunch and threw them in the bag.
Well, there you go, folks. Fun with toys. That's how we finish up this Comiholics.
toys. I like toys.
So thank you very much for listening. And we took no pictures during the entire recording.
No, there are
So-
people. When I said to a couple people that we were going to this audio format, they go, "Well, I like to go through YouTube." And I said, "Well, do you actually watch it?" They go, "No, I turn it on and then minimize the window and do other stuff on the computer." So we'll still put it on YouTube. I'll just put like the Comiholics logo, and then just have this as audio playing. We're not gonna.
So we're stripping
real
down to
fancy.
the bare basics.
Because most people, even though we did video, they still wanted to listen to it.
Right.
So this is going to go back on Podbean and back into iTunes. So people who want to download it to their MP3 player, they can do that. Because a lot of people said they just like to turn it on, like almost like talk radio, sports talk or Glenn Beck or whatever. They just want to have it on and listen to it while they're doing stuff. So this is going to be our podcast show. The Pop Culture Network. This is our audio show, so we'll have this available. And because we're doing it this style, if we need to, we can do this show like on Google Plus,
Right.
something like that, where we can record the audio stream in headset, so it'll still sound fine. It'll still sound good, so we can still do that. So anyway, guys, again, thanks for listening. Please feel free to call our 24-hour voicemail line for the Pop Culture Network. It's area code 217-953-4025. Or if you have Skype, you can find my account under the name Dirt Mound. You can Skype in and also leave a message, voice message that
And
way.
I am Pop Culture Apocalypse, all one word.
On Skype?
Yeah.
Do you ever have your Skype open just so people could call?
I believe so. Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough then. All right, guys. Don't forget popculturenetwork.com for more great stuff for comics, video games, toys, etc. Don't forget to check out Pop Culture Network, the show. Coming, first real episode will be coming in about a week. Probably going to be talking about Xbox One, talking about San Diego Comic-Con toy exclusives, and Killen and I are going to sit down and play 24, the action card game, based off the Kiefer
exhilarating.
Sutherland TV show.
Wow.
Yeah, we found a copy of that at Five Below. So, all right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'm going to poop, so we're going to talk to you next time.
And, I'll make sure it's toilet paper.
Bye, guys.